Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to welcome you to our third installment in our AI content creation webinar series. My name is James Brown, and I'm Head of Commercial at Comtec Translations. Comtec are a UK-based language localization and culture agency based in the UK, and we have over 40 years experience supporting international brands localize their content for international audiences, and we do so in 250 languages. I'm going to be one of your joint hosts for today. As always, I am joined by my partner in crime, as I've come to call her, Sarah Lewis of Thread. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself, a bit about yourself and Thread?
Sure. Sure. Hi, I'm Sarah Lewis. I'm the creative and strategic planner at Thread. Thread is a copywriting studio based out of Portland, Oregon. We have been around for a long time. We've been using AI for about 5 years now, so well before the boom of ChatGPT and the fear and questions that came up around it. So a lot of what we do is kind of working with clients and to advise them on best practices, build custom AI tools. But of course, we also do a lot of campaigns and work not using AI because there's a place for AI and there's a place where AI does not work. We work with clients such as Adidas, Samsung, and we also do nonprofit work for clients such as the Outdoor Diversity Alliance and the National Abortion Federation. Something that James did not mention about both of us is we are both B Corp, something we are very proud of.
I always forget to say that, so thank you so much for jumping in with that.
Here to help, here to help.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So for those of you who've joined us before, as mentioned, this is part 3 of our series on AI content creation. But for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are very delighted to have you here. I'll tell you a bit about, first of all, where this series came from. So we teamed up, as Sarah mentioned, as both B Corps, meeting through the B Corp community. And we first decided to come together back in November and do a webinar looking at common myths in AI and how we've encountered these in our work and overcome them. We got such an amazing response that we thought, hey, let's turn this into a webinar series. And we're really excited. I think people really responded well to the fact that we were people who use AI in our day-to-day businesses and just sharing our tips and insights. So that's why we're here all these months later with our third edition. So 2 weeks ago, we held our webinar, Who Defines Quality in AI Content Creation? And this week, we'll be looking at in defense of AI in quality content creation. Just 2 very quick housekeeping things before we kick off our topic. We will have time for Q&A at the end, so please pop any questions you have throughout in the chat and we'll get through and answer those as soon as possible. We'll also be sharing a recording of this webinar in the coming weeks, so look out for that in your inboxes in the next couple of days. So why are we talking about quality and in defense of quality? Let's recap our second webinar because I think that will give us some answers why. So last time we shared about how Comtec and Thread are both agencies who pride ourselves on delivering a high quality of standard in the traditional sense for our customers. But in recent years, we're seeing a shift in traditional priorities and expectations around AI and the level of quality people are looking for. This is from various reasons. More content is being produced than ever before. The explosion of generative AI and machine translation, as we discussed previously, heightened expectations of what AI can achieve, and also the current global economy and the state that it's in at the moment. So there's lots of factors at play. And as a result of these things converging, we find ourselves at a time where perhaps traditional quality is not the main driver for brands at the moment, and people are looking at efficiency instead. Which left us with the question, who defines quality in that case, if that's the case? We looked at 3 perspectives, the key stakeholders, both the brand, the end consumer, and the agency. As expected, it was a combination of all 3 stakeholders who actually defines quality. And because there's so many factors at play, whether it's objectives, budget, time, all these things have a bearing in quality and how work is carried out. But one other important thing we really kind of hit the head on, sorry, is that as agencies, we need now more than ever to be the guardians of quality. And that comes from understanding our customers and their end customers as well. And that's why we find ourselves talking about the defense of AI and quality creation today. Sarah,
Yeah.
any from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anyone who's been a part of our last 2 webinars knows that typically these webinars are more, it's a conversation, right? These are conversations that James and I are having on a very regular basis. They're conversations that we're having with our clients, their conversations we're having internally. Things are changing every day, every second. There's always something new, and we are having to adapt. And that adaptation isn't always easy. Sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's fun, but there's a lot swirling and it is a whirlwind. And so, really, like, our intention with these conversations is, of course, to have you walk away with some insight and some tips, and also just to kind of not feel so like alone in what is going on right now, because there's a lot. And so, really, like, this is just a great opportunity for James and I to get to, even though it's, yes, the two of us on the screen, to get to share the space with everyone.
Absolutely. And I think that touches on a really important part of last time's webinar, where we actually had a moment of reflection together and a moment of honesty where we felt actually this has been quite difficult to shift our mindset from, which has been based on decades, years of traditional quality. And we've had to let go of that a little bit and test, seek advice, and adapt our mindset to shift to the current the changing times and expectations of users. So it's been a journey, but as I said, we agencies need to be the guardians of quality in whatever shape and form that comes in. And also from this, we establish a distinction between what's considered good quality AI copy and what's considered high quality traditional studio copy. So there are two real different ports of quality we're talking about depending on how the copy is being created. The copy we're going to be talking about today is the good quality AI style of copy. And just to be perfectly clear, by good quality AI style of copy, we're talking about AI in terms of customized AI for content creation, customized by teams of professionals, whether be they copywriters, data analysts, linguists who are programming and refining the AI, and also human post editors and copywriters working when it comes out of the machine as well. We don't advocate the use of AI without human oversight, which will become very apparent as we talk throughout this session. Sarah, I'd love to get your thoughts on this distinction between the two different types of quality.
Yeah, well, first, I mean, when we talk about quality content, whether it's human written content, studio written content, or AI content, which of course we're talking about custom with AI and humans working together, there's a shared baseline, right? Like, is the content accurate? Is it clear? Is it relevant? Is it engaging? Is it well written, which means does it have correct grammar, correct punctuation? Does it have the information that your audience needs? And, like, specifically, is it written knowing what the needs of your audience are? What do users expect to find? How the content is presented? Is it easy to find what consumers are looking for, to get that information quickly, right? So regardless of if we are talking about human or AI with human in the loop, like, that is an essential. I believe a question came up last webinar that was talking about, like, is quality just kind of like, out the window? Like, no, 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 no. But, like, there are differences now is what we're looking for. And we will go a little bit further later as to kind of like, when is this good quality? Where should that go in the process versus where is this kind of like high quality, very intentional, which is then brings me right into what is high quality content in the age of AI, right? So with high quality content, we're really prioritizing originality and creativity. So standing out from the crowd. As everyone knows, there is a lot of content out there. There is insane amount of content being put on the internet every second. And so, like, what you're looking for is something that stands out, that connects, that in that sea, right? Like, you are able to be like, that thing there, I want that, right? It's not easy to do when there's a lot of things floating around out there. And I know that it's really easy to just kind of like, I can say all of that and you can be like, well, yeah, but what does that mean? It's quite broad. So I am going to share some examples if I can.
Is the tech going to work? Moment of truth.
Well, more so it's like, I'm really bad at like enlarging screens. Like, don't tell anyone. You have to tell everyone. All right. Let's see here. Oh God, I'm so sorry, everybody. The anticipation, I swear it will be worth it.
They're good examples, everyone, I promise.
There we go. Here we go. So I want to start with this from Oakley. They did it with Camp Grizzly. It came out I think 2 years ago, and I still love it when I think about like a high quality copy example. We wanted to call them what the fuck lenses, but legal made us go with Prism. You immediately in this get who made the product, get who the marketing team is, and get who the consumer is, right? Like they are energetic, they are stoked, and you can also imagine yourself putting that on and just being like, what the fuck? Because they're that good, right? It's something that is so simple and so like on point with consumer and so representative of the brand. These are three different examples, but each of them equally like existing in different places and showcasing how they know the consumer and also representing the brand. Vote the assholes out. I say every webinar that I'm not going to put a little dose of politics in there, but like I love this. I think that we can see this and like you can feel the passion that's coming out of that brand. You know who Patagonia is, you know what they stand for, and you want to support them. On another more simple side of things, why did you stop serving pizza? At no point in the theater's 105-year history has it sold pizza. Why do people keep asking? Right? Like that is such a, again, you get a sense of someone like being at a computer being like, what? Where did this come from? But also what you get in this is you in just a frequently asked question on a website know that this theater has been around for 105 years, which means they have a community. They have this story. It's so simple and yet it does so much. Here, coffee, you must be tired, other side friend. We've all been there. Like they get it, you get it. It's such a just like nod and wink to what it is to be, a coffee drinker and in need in the morning as your eyes are half open, glasses maybe not on yet.
Mhm.
And then this is a little shout out to Thread because this is a client of ours, Tofurkey, and I love these two, right? One is a social media post and one is packaging. Plant-based, yes. Burgers, still yes. Look, we're in love with burgers like soulmates. It's the real thing. It's an LTR. It's not going to end just because we realize plant-based is the future of food. So burgers agreed to change for us. That way we can still be together, making necessary changes to prioritize the relationship. That's real love. So you've got humor. You've got like, whether it's burgers or a relationship, we've all been there. I'm in the process of moving with a boyfriend. I'm definitely there. So like this right away makes you kind of stop. It makes you pick up. It makes you want to like read it further. It makes you share it with your friend as a laugh, right? Like that is that connection. Here with this packaging, talk to your reps about climate change. I promise I didn't do two things politically on purpose, but I love this as well because you know who this brand is. You stop and you're walking down the aisle and you see that because that's something that relates to your passion. So I think that these are all like quick examples. But you know, what is a word that I've used a lot in all of these? It's passion. And that's something that the AI just doesn't get, right? It doesn't have those real impacts of the world. It doesn't have those understandings of the relationships and the compromises we've made, right? And how we can still be happy with those compromises and just eat a plant-based burger because they actually are really good. You just have to try it, right?
Yeah.
So I love these examples. And I would also love to hear from anyone out there of any examples they have. But yeah, I love those. Sorry, I just got very excited talking about them. But I think this is the thing. And I think also like a little just side tangent. Sorry, James, but like AI doesn't necessarily make you feel the way that I feel right now.
Mhm.
Like just me reading that and like relating to that and getting stoked about it and connecting with it and feeling activated by like, yeah, go vote, right? Like that's something that AI isn't giving you. Again, it can give you that
Yeah.
that accuracy. It can give you, the information that you need, but like it's this connection that really happens. And that's where that high quality copy comes in.
I love it, and you can tell immediately how passionate you are just talking about it, which is what copy should do. It should make you feel some type of way, which is so important. I think it'll be really good. I know
Yeah.
we've just had someone pop in there, like you said, but if anyone wants to pop in any examples in the chat about brands you think have done this really really well, that have got that passion and evokes that, that's really really cool. We've just had one in from Charlie. About Specsavers. So Specsavers is a brand in the UK which sell glasses. I've been there myself today. It's got my new contact lens prescription. But they've really smashed it up there. Should have gone to Specsavers tagline, because you always think you go somewhere else and, oh, I should have gone to Specsavers, and it just makes you kind of question, why have I gone elsewhere? I really like it here, and it just really
Yeah,
gets
I love
that
that.
passion point across. If anyone else has any of this, please do pop them in the chat. But I think they're really really cool examples. Um, yeah. Domino and Just Eat. I think so. Yeah, exactly. There's so many good examples that really make you feel like that. I know I spoke last time about examples like McDonald's and Haribo as well that kind of get you with little jingles and catchphrases and the personalization angle as well. I think there's some really cool stuff there that brands are really doing well, and that's the kind of stuff that comes from humans and really and as an aside. But yeah, that's really really cool to see the distinction as well. Um, so with AI, I guess, Sarah, another question for you. I know we've spoken about this before, but um, there's a whole big picture here around AI. What do you think some brands are missing in this whole AI versus human world we find ourselves in?
I mean, something that I think brands are missing is, I mean, we talk about the personalization aspect, but I also think there's a hyper personalization aspect. There's a hyper personalization kind of thing that's missing with brands right now. I think there's such an opportunity for us. Like with AI right now, there's so much content that's being made and so much general content. It's more stuff out there. It's really about the algorithm. It's not about the people. And I like to think about like what would it be like if we had, for example, like copy that was more personalized beyond like happy birthday, right? Or like, hey Sarah, I saw you were looking at these shoes, right? Like personalization as we know it now is more along the lines of that. Like you bought this supplement, so here's 10% off. Oh, it's time to refill. Like they're able to see like what you're doing. Which yes, I know is also a whole other conversation and can be quite creepy. But like I also think about personalization in the sense, for example, like I mentioned, my boyfriend and I are moving in together. We now have moved in together. He is obsessed with music. I like music. I'm also perfectly happy like listening to it on my phone. He meanwhile has like researched for I don't even want to know how many hours like online about different like music systems, or I guess sound systems they would be called. Like I'm not like a person, I'm not a music person, obviously. And you know, for him, he needs to know all of the nitty gritty details.
Mhm.
I just need to know, like, and quickly, why is it the best? Like, what makes it different? I don't know the music vocabulary. So as we're searching for it, like, I can get very easily overwhelmed because I'm having to go into Google and be like, okay, but what does that mean? Right. And then go back. And then what does that mean? And then I'm like, this is too much. I abandon cart. I'll come back to it later. I never come back to it later. So I love the idea of like what AI can do for us, knowing like through the algorithm, knowing who we are, he could get served up a completely different product description, a completely different blog that serves his
Yeah.
purposes, where like I could get served up something that is, you know, much more accessible to your young novice, right? And so I think that that's something that brand is missing again, like that they are really they're thinking about more content, more content, more content, but
Yeah,
not like the right content in front of the right people.
that's it. And how do you feel AI might be able to support with that? And why do you feel hyper personalization perhaps isn't happening yet? Or are we there yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple of things. Like, you know, when we talk about AI and personalization, hyper personalization, again, like one of the misconceptions that brands have is that AI is just like generate a button and like that's where AI is happening. But this is like AI on the back end, right? Where like it is helping to route the content that has been created. That content can have an AI assist to it, of course, but to get to that nuance we're talking about of like my music loving boyfriend versus like my like casual
Yeah.
listening, like they need to understand, and by they I mean like brand and also agency who's working on it like us, and to be able to like actually get those points across. And AI doesn't have the
Yeah.
ability, as we've seen, to distinguish those things. And so then when, you know, the question of what is that kind of barrier that's coming up, I think it's cost. I think it's something that is new. I think people really see
Yeah.
the potential of it, but there's fear. Those are all understandable things. But I do think that what I would really, and we've, you know, again, we've touched on this, I think, in every webinar, but I think that you know, a lot of brands see AI as a potential for cost saving, for efficiency, and they're looking at growth in those areas, but they're not looking at the possibility of growth within the kind of realm of content and connection. Because if
Yeah.
you're able to, instead of speaking to one person or a generalized, you know, large group of people, like by having access to more people, by connecting to more people, that is better for your brand. That is growth, right? So I think that
Mhm.
that's the barrier though, is that it's new and it's a cost,
Yeah.
and people right now are looking at savings, but it's cost, you know, that you're putting out up front, but in the end that you are making up for times, whatever percent later.
Absolutely. No, that's really, really cool. And I think it's really important to look at that. I know we're talking about primarily good quality AI copy today, but I think it's also important to look at the other side as well, the traditional use. And I think that is also really transforming with hyper personalization included, it being introduced more and more. So that's really, really cool. Going back then, I think we've got a really good idea of the distinction between the two types of quality, as we mentioned a few, like 10 minutes or so ago, and how, and more importantly, how they make you feel, which I think is really, really good, and where brands can make, invest in the right approach. But when it comes to like, when we're talking about AI, good AI quality copy, what are some examples of when you feel that AI can be used with human input and management, of course, in the content creation process? Some practical examples.
I mean, I think SEO is a great example of where AI like works really, really well. We
Yeah,
have built multiple custom AI models that allow our team to work at a really high scale, saving anywhere between, like they can work from 1.5 times the speed to 5 times the speed, depending. And so when you have, a small team, it allows us to be really nimble because it's custom. It is trained on brand voice and brand language and technologies. There are style guides that we can follow, and so it just gets you there faster. Again, it's with a post edit. We have someone that is going in and updating copy as needed, but like that saves a ton of time. And in the ideal world, when you're saving time on these more repetitive and monotonous tasks like SEO, that then opens up the team to be able to work on more creative endeavor, to be able to put more
yeah,
time into kind of creative thinking, and time for inspiration, time for the work campaign, social things that we've just seen that require more of that kind of just like that feeling. It allows
yeah.
people to feel more in an ideal world.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
think so. I think it's about putting effort in the right places. I think we're looking from a localization perspective. There's probably two types of areas. I'd look at like more factual content where it's got to say what it's got to say. And then there's creative advertising copy. And I think there's a real distinction between the two
Yeah.
in terms of where AI can be used as part of the process. With more factual copy, I've seen there are really some good content types where I've seen AI perform really, really well, provided it's customized and fact checked, edited by humans as part of the process. SEO is one example. PPC ad campaign, e-commerce product descriptions, even things like blogs and thought leadership, which are primarily factual based content. This is where AI can, using this hybrid approach with humans at the core, can really make a difference and help you produce more of this content. At the same time, there's types of copy, and I think it's ones Sarah's kind of already hinted at already that I would never touch with AI. And it's the kind of advertising copy, it's luxury brand copy, it's copy that's filled with puns, it's copy that even looking at product descriptions from an ingredients list or product packaging to ingredients, you've got the marketing headlines and then the factual ingredients list. All those things take time, they need to be checked. I'd always think if you've taken a great deal of time putting together the English and making sure that it's perfect and beautifully written, like the same attention should be there with the translation stage as well. But there are lots
Yeah.
of use cases when you can use AI, provided it's done properly.
Absolutely. Well, with that as well, I mean, we're very aligned on how we approach AI and how we approach quality and quality assurance. But I would love to know, and for you to share with the audience, like what does quality look like from an AI content, human content standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mentioned at the start that Comtec, just like Thread, we've been founded based on quality assurance. We've been leader in our industry in terms of quality. It's what we've been known for over 40 years. So we've taken the same rigorous approach to quality assurance that we are audited on by external bodies every single year, and we apply that to our any machine translation AI-enabled solutions as well. What that typically looks like, to share some kind of guidance around what goes on behind the scenes with use of AI, is first of all customization. We want to make sure that even if the copy is being worked with AI, it can be as good as it can be with AI enabled. So customizing the MT based on terminology, style preferences, brand tone of voice. And that is not just writing a glossary. That is writing a glossary that is prompting with style instructions, and it's repeated rounds of testing, sometimes 2, 3, 4 rounds of testing and validation by linguists and professionals to make sure we're happy with the baseline quality of the copy before it even goes to the professional humans. There's a huge process there that goes in before actually the project really even starts. And you've then got post-editing as well. We have a framework where all copy that's being created by AI, based on the process I've just described, is post-edited by human professionals. Just like human translation or human copywriting, we select the linguist based on their experience in that subject area. So they know the terminology, they know the types of brands they're working for, they know what the client's working for, and they're validating against style guides. They're ensuring that the baseline quality is accurate. They're ensuring it's consistent. All these objective quality aspects that you should still get with AI, they're making sure that's there. Obviously, it's a different slight workflow to fully human with the fully creative and stuff, where the linguist is very much polishing the AI copy. But I think it's important to kind of make sure that it's a holistic process that's driven by data and testing and experimentation. The other thing I'd say is that it's important to involve the client as well. We need to be transparent about what the client is going to get from their copy.
Absolutely.
And there is good enough copy. For a lot of types of copy, they need good enough is okay. For some, it demands perfection, creativity, and style. So what we often do, sorry, is we give the client options. We do samples. We say to them, this is what the custom AI copy with post-editing looks like, and this is the human copy. And I've seen clients choose both. I've seen some clients say, okay, actually, I prefer this. They'll go for the AI copy because it is good enough for them. Sometimes like, actually, no, I need the human. That reads like how I want it to say. But sometimes they choose both depending on the content type. So I think it's just really important to kind of make sure that the same attention to detail throughout your process that you pay for a fully human studio style approach is being adapted and considered for anything with AI in the mix.
Yeah, I love what you say about testing and experimentation. I think that, this question has come up, and I'm sure it comes up for you all the time from people who are like, what are like your number one thing that you would recommend when it comes to AI? And I'm like, test it, experiment it.
Yeah,
Like you just like it is playtime, right? It is not just like type this thing in and whatever comes out. It's like there is so much that can be done. Like
yeah,
really find what works for you. Test, experiment, put out examples, right? If it doesn't work, like try it
yeah,
again. Like it is just this continuous dance, right? And then I think another thing that
absolutely.
I just really want to emphasize, and this, I'm sure I'm being repetitive, but I am, just because it is so important, is when, we're talking about custom AI, as James mentioned, like on his side, he has linguists that are prompting. He has linguists that are in every, touch point, and then all the way to proofing. And same thing at Thread, right? Like we are copywriters. So we have copywriters that are in there prompting, that are able to make those like little nuanced calls that, most people aren't paying attention to and looking out for. And so that sort of like every aspect of this is very intentional.
Yeah.
AI is not something that you can be unintentional with.
I completely agree. And I can just kind of to end on that point, I think it's something we spoke about in our first webinar. AI is not just pressing a button and seeing what comes out the other side. You can do that, of course, but good luck with what you're going to get out of it. There's so much that goes into it. The humans are just as involved as human translation or human copywriting. They're just doing a different style of job. So it still
Oh,
needs human control from the very, very start to the very, very end. So
James, I really thought you were going
no,
to end this webinar just saying good luck. So good luck.
gonna
Catch
end
you
on a
at the next
positive
one.
note. But yes, no, it's there's so much that goes into it, and I think it's the time and attention to detail that makes that makes AI copy successful for brands.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on. I'm very proud. Well, before we go into questions, I'm very proud of us, James, for keeping it at 30 seconds. I didn't rant too much, 30 minutes.
Amazing.
But before questions come in from us, or while questions are coming in for us, we would like to ask just two. One is, we have done 3 of these webinars so far. And as I said, this really comes from a place of like conversations of what are we talking about? What are we exploring? But we would love to invite y'all into that conversation and to know, like, what are some webinars, what are some conversations that you would like to hear more about for us to dive into? With that as well, just kind of what are some of the main takeaways that you've had? And as always, we would love to know the challenges that you face. But as James said, on a positive note, we would also love to know some of the wins that you've had with AI as well. Those are a lot of questions. You don't have to answer all of them or even any of them if you don't want, and you can just give us your own. But we are here to receive that.
Yeah, Exciting to see what you guys come up with. And thank you to as well as Charlie, Emma, Faber, and Audrey for popping your comments in the chat as well around which brands you've really you find you're inspired by and really you feel spoken to by.
I love the Oatly one, Audrey. That one is great. I suggest everyone look that one up. And I will have to look into the Surreal and Just Eat and Specsavers. I think James, you did a great job. I got that immediately. Should have gone to Specsavers. I understand that sentiment even with other brands.
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll wait to hear from you. As Sarah said, if you've got any questions you want to ask as well, please pop them in the Q&A or using the chat function. I will give you guys like 30 seconds to a minute to pop those in. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you with if we were to do a fourth webinar, what would you like it to be on? Or what's some of the main takeaways you've got that we can explore further?
Yeah, and you can also always find us on LinkedIn as well. We're around. You can find us quite easily.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, apparently, James, we answered all questions in this webinar.
We really did. You guys have been kind today. We had about 20 questions literally last time, but that's really, really cool. Well, thank you so much, I guess, for joining, for attending today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Talk soon.
Take care. Bye.